Okay, we are given some information on the contents of diet soda over here, and I want to test the claim that the contents of cans of diet soda have weights with a mean that is less than the regular soda. So I know that I want my alternative to be less than. My null is always equal to. Okay, so I know it's going to be that one. And then next, my test statistic, it tells me to do a T, but if it didn't, you would know because you don't have the population standard deviation. You just have the sample standard deviation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to StatCrunch, and I'm going to make this where I can see these numbers. And I'm going to go to Stat. Again, we said this is a T-stat. I see two columns, so there's definitely two samples. They don't give me data, they give me the summary statistics. So I just start typing in the numbers. The sample mean is the X bar 8887. Be careful that you're typing in the correct numbers. Standard deviation 00436, sample size 31. And then the next one is 0.81194. The sample standard deviation 0.00745, and sample size 31. And so I need to be sure that my alternative matches my alternative from this part right there. So I have to change that to less than. I think that's the biggest mistake students are making, is they're not changing that. And I hit compute, and right here gives me my T-stat of negative 14.88. And then it asks for the p-value, which is right beside it, which basically says it's 0, but it wants you to round to 3 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3. All right. And let's move this where I can read this. So remember when the p-value is less than the significance. So the significance is 0.01. When your p-value is less than the significance, you're going to reject the null. So I know it's one of these. All right, so I'm rejecting the null. But here, then it says there is not sufficient evidence to support the claims that the cans of diet soda have mean weights that are lower. Here, there says there is sufficient evidence, because that's what we're saying. When we reject the null, we're looking at the alternative that we're going to then actually say there is sufficient evidence that the sodas have mean weights that are actually lower than that for the regular soda. All right, and then it wants me to construct a confidence interval. Well, I'm going to just stay right here in StatCrunch. I'm going to go to my options and edit. I have all my information in here. All I have to do is change I want a confidence interval, and notice that it says 0.01 significance. So my confidence interval would be 1 minus 0.01, which would be 0.99. And I hit compute, and here is my lower limit. So what is it, 3 decimal places? So negative 0.027. And then my upper limit, negative 0.019. And there's a job match. All right, and so making sure I type those in correctly, because I'm running to 3 decimal places, and I check my answer. So as you can see, if you enter this incorrectly, then StatCrunch is doing everything for you, right? I think something's missing, and I'm going to guess that you're not changing either the hypothesis to a less than, or you're not, I mean, something's just happening if you're not getting these answers, because StatCrunch is giving them to you directly. All right, so does the confidence interval support the conclusion of the test? Remember, a confidence interval, so the conclusion of the test, and in fact we can look here, is If we accept the null is saying there's no difference, so there would be a 0 in this interval, but there's not a 0 in this interval. So certainly this supports our conclusion that we got above, because we only have negative values and 0 is not in our actual interval. And that's it.